Good morning, Mercy and Hope Church. What should motivate us to want to be a kingdom stewards who are protecting and expanding the assets of the King and his kingdom through the time, talents, and treasures that God is giving us to put him first and prioritize him first in all parts of our life? Well, the motivation for being a good manager or being a good stewards come from farming system. God uses the farming system, the law of sowing and reaping, to encourage and inspires us to be the kind of kingdom stewards he created and redeemed us to be. Now it says in 2 Corinthians chapter 9 verse 6 to 8, "Now this I say, he who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and he who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. Each one must do just as he has purpose in his heart, not grudgingly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. And God is able to make all grace abound to you, so that always having all sufficiency in everything, you may have an abundance for every good deed." So this farming principle of sowing and reaping allows you to access into God's grace. God's grace is biyaya, that he'd already provided for you. Now this word grace or biyaya, Paul defined this word biyaya at the end of the chapter as grace, as an indescribable gift, because grace is free. It's a tremendous gift. It is a powerful gift, and this is free. As what we've learned from Liana and Adriana, grace or biyaya is all that God is free to do for you, which what you could never do for yourself, what you cannot earn and do not deserve, and which you would never be able to repay. God's grace, Paul says that this is the kind of grace that God gives in abundance. But this grace cannot be earned. It can only be accessed. So you don't earn grace because it's free. But how you access grace? So Paul gives us the answer how we can access the grace through the law of sowing and reaping. You see, no farmer eats his whole harvest, okay? A farmer doesn't eat it's all harvest, because then he had nothing to plant. He always saves some seed for another planting, because whatever he plants brings up a lot more. So you plant one santal seed and then you get this much. You get a huge santal tree with hundreds of fruits. So God already put into the creation the way his grace operates. So grace cannot be earned, but grace can be accessed through this law of sowing and reaping. Now, when it comes to sowing and reaping, our farmer has to be concerned about a number of things. So I will take you one by one. Number one, the farmer must make sure that he plants. Or in the famous words of my Tita Elma, Ken, don't just be doing sitting pretty there. Sitting pretty means when you sit so pretty, but you are surrounded with a lot of works to do. In other words, if the farmer just pray and he doesn't plant, he won't get the benefits of what the soil is designed to produce. Now, if you sit there looking pretty, don't expect for a blessing. So a lot of people will pray for God to do something, but we refuse to plant anything. Like job hunting. I'm praying about it. Okay, you're praying about it. I'm praying about it. But asking and praying from the Lord is not enough. The Bible says, ask, seek, and knock. First, you ask the Lord in prayer, and then you seek, you go looking for the job, and then you knock. You need to be determined. You don't give up if you cannot still find a job. You know, do you knock only once? You knock 3 times. Some of us, we knock until we break the door. You knock until the doors of opportunity opens up. So the farmer must be concerned that he plants. Number 2, the farmer must be concerned where he plants. The farmer needs to choose a healthy soil. The soil has to be favorable to what kind of of plants He wants to plant. For rice, we need watery soil. For sugarcane, we need dry soil. So you don't just plant anywhere, or you also don't want to plant in soil that is plenty of rocks and weeds. So same principle. That's why you got to be careful of what you invest in and where you're going to invest your money, your talents, and your time, because we want our investment to produce more, because we're protecting, expanding, and maximizing the assets of God that God had given to us to manage, not to own, but to manage well. And then number 3, farmers must also be concerned with how, or the way he sows, or the way he plants. He doesn't just plant without any thoughts about it. The farmer is concerned that how he plants must be done in a correct way, in a right way. So the seed must be buried under the earth. So, we get upset when we tell our kids to wash the plates and they wash it, but it's still full of dirt, because we want them to do it in a right way. So same principle, the way we give and invest our talents, treasures, and time must be in alignment with God, to be according to God's will, God's way, and God's timing. And then the farmer must be concerned with why he sows, why he plants. So what's the reason why he plants? So a farmer doesn't just plant because he has nothing to do, okay? He is planting because he wants to harvest plenty, that there is an expectation for a great harvest. So the motivation is that the sowing and reaping that you are doing will not go to waste. It will not go in vain. Ecclesiastes 11, chapter 1 says, "Ship your grain across the sea. After many days, you may receive a return." So in closing, I don't want you to forget this lesson in farming. Okay, the lesson is there's always a gap of time between sowing and reaping. You don't sow today and reap tomorrow. There's always a waiting time after you plant. So if you are a farmer, you know that sowing and reaping are seasonal. You sow in one season and then you reap in another season. You plant in one season and you harvest in another season. So don't think God had abandoned you just because nothing has happened after you fully obey Him. It's not just time to harvest yet. We just have not reached the harvest season yet. But you be faithful to God and watch God show all grace back to you.